how in Ayurveda these medicinal plants were identified which could have effect on the immune system. It's Panchabhuta and Tridosha, because then I realized that this Ayurvedic system of medicine is based around these two fundamental principles. In fact, the knowledge which is there in Ayurveda is much more vast than
as a modern scientist, and especially who is working in the field of biotechnology, how did you get interested in a topic that's at the core of the traditional system of medicine, Ayurveda?
30 years when I was a scientist at the National Institute of Immunology, I was working on one project specially, which was funded by Department of Biotechnology, the Department of Science Technology. And this project was focused on studying the immunomodulatory effects of the Indian medicinal plants used in Ayurveda. So this is a project which was given to me. So I was a little curious how these plants are used in Ayurveda. At that time, I did not have any knowledge about Ayurveda. Just like any other scientific student of science, I was more into Western way of education, and then since I was abroad, so I was more focused on doing scientific research. But I was very intrigued by that, how in Ayurveda, these medicinal plants were identified, which could have effect on the immune system. So I first wanted to understand what is Ayurveda. So I started reading books and articles. I also met several the Ayurvedic experts also. I attended many scientific conferences. And gradually as I went forward, I began to understand the intricacy of Ayurveda and the depth of knowledge that Ayurveda has. And initially, of course, it was little challenging for me because the terminology which is used in Ayurveda, it's our tendency that we simply translate into English. When you say Panchabhuta, which is like 5 elements, and when you describe the 5 elements, this will be earth, water, fire, air, and space. So when you translate it directly, it does not mean much in a scientific language. So I thought what all this terminology is all about. So I went more deeper, and I understood that this terminology is not just the view in a literal sense one has to take, but rather these are metaphorically represents actually the deep meaning of each word that we use. These are actually the keywords. So that's how I began to understand. And the second fundamental principle that I learned was the Tridosha. So these were the two things, Panchabhuta and Tridosha, because then I realized that this Ayurvedic system of medicine is based around these two fundamental principles. So that's how I got initiated into Ayurveda, and then I have been studying about it, and I find it very, very fascinating. In fact, the knowledge which is there in Ayurveda is much more vast than the modern science that we know.